Hello, and welcome to today's ASMR video. Today I'll be looking at some books that I have collected. Now these are quite special books. They're made by a company called the Folio Society. And although none of them are the special limited editions, which cost several £1,000s, if not hundreds, they are still really nice editions and are priced a little more competitively than their most expensive books. Let's take a look at the first book. So, the first book has a cover which is bound in a pebbly skin effect and is completely brown. I wonder if you can guess what it is. Well, the brown pebble skin is meant to be raptor skin. Raptor meaning the dinosaur and not a bird of prey. So if that doesn't give you a clue, this might. Yes, it's Jurassic Park. The cover has a lovely soft raised area where the raptors are. Let's take a little look. Oh, I don't like cracking books. The full cover itself. The cover was illustrated by an artist called Back to That Fox, who has an Instagram account if anybody is interested. Now, Jurassic Park is one of my favourite novels and one of my favourite films, and I was very pleased when I found out the Folio Society had made an edition of it last year. This is the first edition, first printing. I think they're on the second printing at the moment. And the book contains a number of internal illustrations. Yes, first printing 2020. A number of internal illustrations by Back to That Fox, as well as the original I don't know what you call them, graphs, chaos theory illustrations that illustrate Ian Malcolm's theories. Ian Malcolm being a character in the book. So here's a list of each of the pages that the illustrations are on. Page 40, page 128, page 161, page 209, page 320, page 368, and the black and white illustration is on the title page, which you've already seen. Let's look at the other illustrations. Page 40. This is an illustration of a compy, which is a small dinosaur, preying on an infant in its crib, which is quite a creepy idea. You can see the torch casting a shadow of the compies. In the background there are 3 of them on the crib. This is part of the book which wasn't in the original film. Probably because it's too scary. And page 128. This is Dr. Henry Wu and his team of scientists working on embryos that they've implanted in eggs in the Jurassic Park laboratory. You can see there on STEG 4582, which is a Stegosaurus number 458, version 2. Next illustration is page 161. That's a Dilophosaur by the Jungle River, with Tim, one of the characters from the book, looking at it. The Dilophosaurs are responsible for the death of one of the key characters in the book and the film. In case you've not seen Jurassic Park, I won't spoil which character that is. But a lot of characters die in the course of the book and the film. Page 209. This is the Tyrannosaurus Rex, who attack the protagonists of the book on a section of the main road. You can see, although she's technically a she, they call it he. You can see he's standing on the bonnet of a car, peering in. And then page 320. These are pterosaurs that are launching an attack on 1, 2, 3 of the characters from the Jurassic Park aviary. See their furry bodies, their long snouts. And the last illustration is page 368. And that is a velociraptor hunting Tim. And the illustration is green because Tim is looking at it through his night vision goggles, which are heavy and therefore expensive. So you should really put them down. Let's move on to the next book. This is a collection of short stories by H.P. Lovecraft, my favorite writer, who wrote a number of short stories in the 1920s, which are referred to as part of the Cthulhu mythos. This book has a cover which sometimes appears purple and sometimes appears green, depending on the flow of latent magical energy in the background, or maybe just the light. Lots of runes here bedecking the frontispiece. And I think this is the first edition too. This is the Call of Cthulhu and Other Weird Stories, edited by S.T. Joshi, who is the world's leading authority on H.P. Lovecraft. So this is first published by Penguin Books in 1999. Text follows that of the first edition with minor amendments. Emendations. And this is the 2017 edition by Folio, with a preface by Alan Moore, who's a fantastic writer. Largely writes comics, but also occasionally writes novels. There's an illustration. Rather strange character. It's completely symmetrical. A bearded man. Almost all of Lovecraft's characters are male. I think there's 3 female characters in the entirety of Lovecraft's writing, and they're all either dead or witches or something strange. The last illustration is of a Cyclopean temple with an eldritch crystal at its heart. So that's the Corn of Cthulhu and other weird stories. The next book is quite a short one. I don't think there's any internal illustrations in this. It's a folio book of horror stories. There's the image on the front. Man with his face being clawed off. This contains short stories with an introduction by Ramsey Campbell, who's one of the world's foremost horror writers. The stories are The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, Count Magnus by M.R. James, a fantastic writer, The White People by Arthur Machen, Ancient Lights by Algernon Blackwood, The Music of Zarek Zahn by H.P. Lovecraft, who we just looked at, Smoke Ghost by Fritz Leiber, Brenda by Margaret St. Clair, The Bus by Shirley Jackson, again by Ramsey Campbell himself, Vastarian by Thomas Ligotti, Call Home by Dennis Etchison, 1408 by Stephen King, very famous writer, very popular these days, Flowers of the Sea by Reggie Oliver, and Hippocampus by Adam Neville. And this is the first edition, 2018. That's the folio book of horror stories. So, the next book we'll be looking at is another of my favourites. These are obviously all books that I really like, otherwise I wouldn't have bought them. Oh, I didn't show you the cover. Let's see if you can guess what it is. It's a sea of sand, in black and silver, with a swirling maelstrom at its heart. Well, if you've read it or seen the original film, you might have guessed that this is Dune by Frank Herbert. And there's the lead protagonist on the front cover, Paul Atreides, Muad'Dib. So this is a 6th edition, I think. Yes, 6th printing, 2020. So not the first edition. There's a picture of Reverend Mother with the Gom Jabbar. Is it the Gom Jabbar? I can't remember if the Gom Jabbar is an assassination device or if it's the box that Paul Atreides puts his hand in. Here's the Mind Killer. So yes, this is quite an epic and there, as I've indicated previously, was a film out of it in the 80s by the director David Lynch, and there's a film coming out at the end of this year. I can't remember who the director is, but hopes are that it'll be more of a better film, really, than David Lynch's film. David Lynch is a fantastic director, but Dune is probably his worst film, and even he will admit that. So Dune is about Paul Atreides, who is a human. I think everybody in Dune is a human to one extent or another, just slightly mutated. And in the far future, he is the heir to a noble house in a galactic empire. And his father inherits a dusty planet called Dune, which produces spice, which has magical qualities. And it turns out that the gift of the planet is a trap for the evil House Harkonnen are set against them. The last book I'll be looking at is actually 3 volumes. It's very old, almost as old as me, but it's still in quite good condition. And that's the Gormenghast trilogy by Mervyn Peake. I'll probably only have time to look at the first book, which is Titus Grown. I love Gormenghast, another of my favourite novels. I also love Titus Grown, and I'm not so keen on Titus alone. So this book has many illustrations in it, every few pages. If you haven't seen any yet, it's just bizarre. There's one. I am fuchsia. I must always be. I am me. Don't be frightened. Wait and see. That's a drawing that Fuchsia, one of the characters, does on her wall. It's a dark, gloomy corridor, and a smouldering study with ancient books. I hope you've enjoyed looking at my less than ancient books in this video. Likes, comments and subscribes are appreciated. And as always, I wish you restful sleep, pleasant dreams, and gentle relaxation.